Welcome to the Custom Automotive Solutions YouTube channel, where passion meets performance and rubber meets the road. From the first turn of the ratchet to the first laps on track, we have you covered. We don't just fix cars, we build them and make sure every vehicle that rolls out of our shop is better than when it rolled in. Join us as we pursue our passion, because here at Custom Automotive Solutions, we don't just follow the road, we attack it. You should like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you. On today's episode, follow along as Cody has to disassemble pretty much all of the vehicle to get the steering rack in and out of this Supercharged BRZ. Stick around, you're not going to want to miss it.
What you doing with the crowbar?
Well, this motor mount's not wanting to sit down all the way. I'm trying to see if it's just hanging up on something or if the threads are catching. It's just resting on a thread. There's a slight gap up here. Oh, that's what happened, is the saddle twisted. Okay, that's easy enough to fix. Gotta address things like that when I see it, otherwise there's too many things going on to remember everything.
Now we're underneath the Subaru.
Just getting the splash shields out of the way so I have room to work.
Jason ran off to the shop to grab more fluids for this guy.
Yep. I think what I'm gonna do is paint mark this guy where the steering shaft connects to the steering rack. That way I don't have to do any fancy footwork getting it back together and straight. Because you don't want the steering wheel to be off. I guess it doesn't matter because we're doing the rack. Oh, 13 maybe? They always put weird sizes on these guys. It's like, might be a 13, might be a 12, might be an 11. Looks like this one's a 12. Nice size that I got plenty of sockets for. It's when it's 11, it's like, all right, I've only got a couple of those. I'm gonna need actual hand tools. Try and loosen this without getting the shaft to turn any. Take this lock bolt out, and then we can get the shaft off of here. I'm just gonna see if it'll stay up there. Perfect. Push it up out of the way. That's the steering shaft connected to the steering wheel. You know, unbolt it from the rack itself, and that just splines on all the different splines up there. So you can have that steering wheel one spline off, and then your steering wheel will be crooked and all that fun stuff. And I'm gonna have to lower this down though. Not all the way, just to take the wheels off real fast. I should just do that now before I get cooking. Anti-seize. It's just a lubricating compound. It's like fine metal and oil, and you put it on stuff to like stop it from seizing up essentially. Keep the threads loose, like all the stuff on the threads there. That's anti-seize. That's not a oil or anything. That came out of a dry hole. So that's all the stuff that was on the threads. It's like, there's people in the industry that are like, yeah, you need to put anti-seize on everything. Stuff breaks. And it's like, sure, if you're working on diesels, exhaust, if you live in the Rust Belt. We live in Oregon. You don't need to put anti-seize on your engine splash guard bolts. I'm going to clean these because this gets everywhere. Just a tiny little, see, it's already all over my arm. That shit just gets everywhere. It smears like that. It takes longer to clean yourself up after this. And it's worse when it gets on your tools, because then you're clean and then like 20 minutes later you touch something and there's anti-seize everywhere again. Why is there anti-seize all over me? I didn't touch anything. It's tractor paint. And I don't remember getting a wheel lock. So now I have to go look through his car for a wheel lock. So hopefully he has one in there.
Up and down, up and down.
That's got 7 sides, not 6. So you need a 7-sided socket. It's better than doing those stupid, I've got a star cut in the front of my wheel and my key has a star cut in it, because those lugs can be removed just as easily with a puller. And that little stupid key, the guy changing your wheels out is going to use an impact every time, and that little star piece in the center or whatever design they choose is just going to get smashed and folded and eventually not work right. This is kind of a better design for longevity in my opinion, because if you're going to invent something and put it on there that can be defeated with a puller, you might as well just make something sturdy. Let's see how much anti-seize I can save myself this time. those off.
So why'd you have to take the tires off?
Because I need to be able to unhook the tie rod ends from the vehicle, and so I want to be able to put an impact up here, and just no room with the tires. And then when I go to flush the brakes later, it'll make it easier just to have the rear tires off too. Little pin out of there.
Tiny little clip, huh?
Manufacturers use a cotter pin. I don't know if this was supposed to have a cotter pin and they use this guy because race car, but that's what's in there. So we're not reusing these ball joints or these tie rod ends at all. I don't care too much about taking them off nicely. Just put some tension from the underside on the steering arm. That'll stop the ball joint and the steering arm from spinning. Let me get the nut right off. Do the same thing on the other side. Now I can go back up. Alright. Persuasion it is. Just kind of whack the knuckle where this goes through because it's got a cone fit. You can jam them loose and they'll pop out. Otherwise, there's actually a tool you can put on here that'll clamp under here and push down here as you tighten it with an impact until you force it out. But I find you cause a lot less damage just doing it this way. That one's being a little stubborn. I'll just put some downward pressure on him, pry bar, and then whack the knuckle. Almost caught it. And that's why these are so beefy right here. These are designed to be beaten and shocked loose. You don't want to hammer it with a sledgehammer, you'll destroy stuff, but something like that, just giving her a little shock. Oh, so I'm gonna have to turn that loose. This little channel here stops you from being able to drop the rack straight out. And this isn't part of a subframe, it's a stiffener. It just bolts up here and here to the subframe, and that's what mounts your sway bar. So I'm gonna have to take at least one side of it off, drop the rack down, and can slide the other side out. Fun times, fun times. Make sure there's not a bolt up in here. There is. I'm not gonna be able to get up in there. All right, take those out. I never thought about it until I saw that, but all the calipers that Brembo makes, I got a feeling like they don't make a caliper for Chevy and they're like, no, you make your bracket to us.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So, see, this is turned loose now. It's just held up with the sway bar bushing. So I'm thinking, try and get that bolt out of there first and then take the nut.
Just trying to get that little guy out, huh?
Yeah, I at least need to get the tension off of him. Moved. Should be able to just take this nut off and slip this whole piece out.
Now, is this to replace this guy right above your head?
Yeah, that's the steering rack.
Right.
That's what we're trying to get out. Or not. Apparently I need to loosen that some more. Oh, okay, yeah, it's pinned in by the threads. Just a poopy angle. I have to take this guy completely out. There we go. Oh, I thought this bolt would slide out through the channel, but the channel is not fully cut out. It's only as big. It's a fake channel. They make it seem like you can slide it on, but in fact, you cannot. Set this guy to the side for now. That should give us enough room to get this rack out. So those are captured.
And then you're just gonna slide this out of here so you don't have to take that out?
Yep, that's the plan.
Just like that, huh?
Just like that.
Oh, that was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. Well, I mean, just taking it out.
Well, there's a lot of prep work involved. We don't want this thing going cockeyed down the road to get there. So I'll just go here and use my thumbnail. So I know there's 9 valleys in between the threads from this jam nut to here. And that's not gonna be super precise. You're still gonna need an alignment, but I can get it really darn close. Yeah, they're both 9 valleys. So this is probably a factory rack. So I'll get my hands wiped off here and kind of get the other rack set up. Get it ready to go back in. Just looking at the front of it. I would have normally done this in the car, but there was so much other shit going on that I didn't think about it.
This is gonna hit me in the
It very well might. It'd be very nice if these are loose. They're not. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to do the same thing with those in the inner. Actually, yeah, I do, because I don't need any of this shit except for the jam nuts.
That's what you were talking about, with it being 9 down.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is the adjustment, is how far in this end adjusts your toe. And that's the jam nut for it to stop it from moving on its own. So I just basically measured how many threads were past the jam nut once it was tightened down. So it'll get it close enough to not have the car dog tracking down the road on the way to the alignment shop. All right. So all I needed was 2 nuts. Garbage. Would have been nice if they just gave us new ones. Would have saved me some work. They expect you to reuse your outer tie rod ends and just replace the rack with the inners. From their point of view, you have to take these off anyway, so why should they give you a nut?
It's a nut.
Yeah. I just put it on way too far, and then I'll just situate it once it's in the vehicle as far as the thread count. They do have a right and a left, so I wanted to keep them separate. Oh, these ones actually came marked too. That's kind of nice. They don't always mark those for you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Moog. Yeah, we're not going to use that. They gave us a brand new, teeny tiny little cotter pin. Because race car.
Because race car.
We're going to use those pins that I took off that are twice as thick as that. The ones that are on there are stronger. I would prefer those. Typically, I'd want to use all the new parts we could, but not when they're subpar to the parts that I took off. Especially when the parts I took off weren't broken. All right, bolts. They got just a little hole in them, almost for like a countersink or a stop bolt. Never seen that before on a factory bolt. Shuffle them back through. Started. That one started, and it's kind of in place. So I think what I'm going to do is sink these up tight and then get the arms situated.
This is where you match it.
Yep. Right about where it was. Right there. That's roughly about where they were originally. So we'll get these pushed back into the knuckles here.
Okay, I got all the stuff at Halsey. I'm going to pick it up now.
Okay.
None of the auto parts store had what we needed, of course, for that type of stuff.
Okay.
You don't need it just yet, do you?
What?
Your fluid?
I'm getting to that point. I'm starting to run out of stuff.
Well, you already got the rack on and everything?
Yeah, I can do the A-arms next, and then
Okay. Yeah,
I've got fluids that I need.
Well, maybe not. We'll see. Those hopefully come out pretty quick.
Before I mess with anything.
I was gonna say, while you're in here too, if you see anything else, like visual inspection type thing, his driveline sounded a little freaking kooky, but I think it's just because everything's mounted on the solid bushings.
Probably.
And the input shaft has a little play, but I got a jam joint if you want. Cool.
For the steering shaft, he's locked in. So I think I'm gonna have to come down now.
Okay. So now you're just
Reattaching the outer tie rods to the vehicle. We have a castle nut, which is this guy, with a bunch of grooves cut in it.
Oh yeah, that's the king.
This guy can go through the bolt and lock it in place. So this is much more sturdier than that little clip they gave us. Mm-hmm. This is also solid spring steel. That's just tin. So you just got to get the hole in the bolt lined up with the notches in the castle so that that pin can get through there.
So what's this thing called?
I'm not sure its exact name. I would just call it either a subframe brace or possibly just the sway bar mounting brace. Because that's where the sway bar mounts to. The bushings anyways. Mounts to the chassis.
You make it look super easy, Cody.
I've only got like 20 tools laid out just to put this one piece back on.
You did it with one.
Oh no, I just keep swapping them out. I think these wrenches have single-handedly saved me more time on any job than any tool I own. Double flex head.
That's amazing.
Those are both tight. All right, that's back in. And the steering rack is done. It's back in, hooked up. No fluid to worry about because it's electronic. We're tight to both knuckles. We've got our alignment as close as we can get it and locked down. And the driver's side sway bar mount is back in and tight, and the sway bar is bolted back up. Ah, fun times, fun times.
Only about an hour of work, too.
It was not too bad. I did shortcut a few things. We're still waiting on a few fluids. Boots are pretty cracked. I'm not sure how much grease is left. If these wear out, that's just more movement. Oh, that's gonna be the fun part. We're getting that ball joint to let loose. Pressure. Thanks, Subaru.